Justin, have you kicked this one off? Break
Yeah.
down your AFC division winners.
Well, I think the Buffalo Bills are going to win the AFC East. I just based on last year, and the lack of turnover on their roster, I just
Yep.
think they're going to be the best team over there. Miami's going to be much improved. Patriots, I don't have them making the playoffs. They should be an average to good team though. I just think the Bills are going to win that division. The Chargers was really the toughest pick for me to make in this particular category because again, like I said earlier, I think it could go either way with the Chiefs, the Raiders, and the Chargers. Even the Broncos. I don't believe the Broncos are going to win the division. But they could. They're a good enough team to, and it reminds me of the NFC West just a few years ago. I mean,
Last year.
just last year.
Uh,
So, I mean, the last couple of years, even it's been that way. So, I just picked the Chargers. I like the talent there. I like the continuity. All the players coming back. Again, a lot of lack of turnover there. They did bring in J.C. Jackson to help shore up the secondary. He's going to miss the first couple of weeks of the season, but nonetheless should return healthy and help shore up that secondary. Eckler, like of a running back. They've got great receivers, really good young quarterback. The Colts there in the South, I just don't think there's a lot of competition, honestly. That's the bottom line. I really don't think the Colts are a great team.
okay.
Their defense isn't great. They're not known for great defense. They got decent offense, decent defensive line, decent corners. They do have Leonard, who's just a baller. But as far as the offense goes, Matt Ryan, we know who he is and what he brings to the table. But their receivers, I mean, outside of Pittman, who do they have? They got JT, obviously, but again, not a lot of depth behind him. If he goes down on injury, But I
Yeah.
do have them win the division just by default because I don't think any of the other teams in that division are any good. You got Houston, they're rebuilding. Jacksonville, rebuilding. I mean, they're a really young team. The Titans, I mean, they just drafted a receiver who they're not really thrilled with. They lost their other receiver in trade, which
Both of
was
them.
probably not a great, yeah. Um, they got Robert Woods, but I think Robert Woods has proven, that he's never been a wide receiver one in the league. He's been a very, very good complementary receiver. So they bring Derrick Henry's coming back, should be fully healthy. But I don't see them win that division. And then the Bengals over there in the North, I have them winning. Just they have the talent. Obviously, they're coming off the Super Bowl run where they go to the Super Bowl, they lose to the eventual champion Rams. But again, they're bringing a lot of the key pieces back. Bates just finally agreed to come in, sign the franchise tag, even despite not getting a new contract. So their defense should be stellar. Burrow, he's back in practice, back practicing in full after the appendectomy. No limitations. Said that he probably could play, just wants to make sure he gets his body back right. He probably would rather play week one than a preseason game, anyways. So
Yep.
they're going to have some competition, I believe, but the Bengals do have one of the easiest strength schedules in the entire NFL this year. I think they're second or third or something like that. So they're going to have a pretty easy strength of schedule, and their competition, the Ravens, the Steelers. I don't have the Browns really being much of a threat, but the Ravens and the Steelers are going to be a threat for a little while. I think the Ravens, we got to really see what they're going to get out of their receiving group and Lamar Jackson this year. I think even their running game, actually, now if you really think about it, Gus Edwards, he's hurt. He's going to miss some time now. Their running backs are coming back from major injuries, and not just one, like their running back
All of
group.
them.
Yeah, they're recovering from major injuries. So they have the talent to compete with the Bengals. I'm just not convinced yet because of that recent injury history, and They just traded away their wide receiver one. Now they're going to be relying on Bateman, who's a sophomore receiver. They do have Andrews. So just a lot to figure out there still. And then with Steelers, same, a lot to figure out there. They may be going through a quarterback carousel as the season goes. Trubisky, he's going to have to win some games in order to keep his job. So just that dilemma to start the year, I think will, help the Bengals actually. The noise surrounding the Steelers is going to keep them from reaching that ultimate goal. If the Steelers pick a quarterback early on and they set on that quarterback for the whole year, which I think it would have to be Kenny Pickett, so that way that week 4, week 5, they're not deciding, okay, do we replace Trubisky now? I think they got to start the season with Pickett and they roll with him. That's when they have the best chance to win that division. If they go with Trubisky and then they're deciding midseason whether or not to switch their quarterback, they're probably not going to be in a position to win that division. So I have the Bengals.
Okay. I don't think that the Steelers are going to have a quarterback carousel. I believe Mike Tomlin, he's going to, if he switches quarterbacks, it's going to be one switch. Like you said, he's going to switch to Pickett, and that's going to be it.
That's going to be it.
All right, cool. So we had a couple different on these. I see your points as to why you picked the teams you picked, and obviously there's some valid points. But I went with a couple different picks. Obviously, we have two of them the same. Buffalo Bills. I just think that they're the best team right now in the AFC, if not the NFL. I think that they're head and shoulders the best team in the AFC East. So I think they're going to win that division probably by a couple of games, if not 3 or 4. I think the Colts, again, as you mentioned, by default in the NFC South, I think they're just the best team in that division. Doesn't mean that they're a contender for the Super Bowl. I mean, obviously you can catch lightning in a bottle, but I agree with you on some of those points you made as far as their defense. It's not a bad defense, but it's not a great defense, and it's not as good as it was a couple of years ago even. So I think that again they win by default. I think Matt Ryan is an upgrade over Carson Wentz, but not enough to really make any major noise in the playoffs. But they are going to win their division. I'll start with the Ravens and the AFC North as far as our differences. I think that Cincinnati obviously is probably the favorite to win the division because of their recent run to the Super Bowl last year. They have a very young quarterback who's very good. They've got the offensive rookie of the year and Jamar Chase, who I think is a phenomenal wide receiver. He's probably going to, if he can stay healthy, I think he's going to retire as one of the best wide receivers to ever play in the NFL. That's how good I think he is. I think that Justin Jefferson will probably give him some competition as far as this generation's best wideout. But I think overall I would take Jamar Chase. But with all that being said, let's not forget the Ravens and how good they were before they got hit by that injury bug last year. They were really good. Fighting for the division championship every year between them and the Steelers. Typically, they have a very good head coach. Lamar is going to be playing in a contract year. He's going to want to get paid. If they don't sign a contract before the season starts, I think even if he does get paid, he's going to want to go out and prove, hey, this is why you paid me this money, because that's just the type of guy Lamar is. I think that, you're right. Gus Edwards is going to be out probably for a few games, but they're getting a lot of guys back on that in that backfield that can help them out. And I just think that as good as the Bengals finished the season last year, I think that they're taking a little bit of a step back. I think the Ravens edge them out to win the division. I don't think that the Ravens are a Super Bowl contender, but I do think that they're going to end up winning the AFC North. I don't really have any hey, this is why specific stats or anything. I just feel that Cincinnati's going to take a step back a little bit from where they finished last year. And I think Baltimore, once they regain their full health, I think they're going to take their spot back at the top of the division where they typically are based off their coaching and just game plan overall. So those are my AFC Division champions. Oh, I'm sorry. Chiefs. My bad. I left one out there. I didn't want to break Jason's heart. I don't think the Raiders have a chance to win the division. I think they have a very good chance to make the playoffs. You know, I've been telling you for the last couple of weeks, I think Patrick Mahomes is actually going to grow as a quarterback this year and be a better quarterback at the end of this year than he was at the end of last season or even at the beginning of this season. I think their offense is going to be not as explosive, but just as potent as far as the points they score. They're going to be more efficient. They're not going to rely on those big plays. They're going to have to rely on their timing. You have to rely on the play calls that Andy Reid puts out there. Mahomes is still going to be able to do some of his magic. He's still got Travis Kelce. There's still going to be some times when receivers bust open. So you're still going to see some of that stuff, just not as much without Tyreek Hill. And I think by them staying on schedule more, that it's actually going to help improve his ability to read defenses, make the right decision, make those on schedule plays. And I think Kansas City wins that division once again. And as usual, they are going to be a Super Bowl contender because they have Mr. Mahomes at quarterback. So there you go. Those are my AFC Division Champion predictions. Let me know where I was right on all four of them.
Yeah. I've got Bengals, Bills, Colts, and Raiders.
Bengals, Bills, Colts, and Raiders. Well, you're wrong. No, I'm just kidding. I could see the Raiders. I'm not gonna say they don't have any chance. I don't think that any of those teams are good enough to overtake the Chiefs. And I'm gonna say that it's mainly because they still have Andy Reid as coach and they still have Patrick Mahomes as quarterback. As long as they have that combination right there, I'm gonna pick the Chiefs every single time to win that division.
Fair enough.
So, all right. So those are our predictions for division winners in 2022. Again, leave a comment. Let us know where we were wrong, where we were right, and who do you think is going to win.